So oral presentations due week 13, and our report writing is due this Friday, 5 o'clock. So please make sure you try to do your best to complete writing your report by Friday. And in order for you to get good marks, I would now like to go over the assignment marking criteria. So many of you did not bother to check the marking criteria when you did your essay number 1. You will have to do essay number 2. You will have to do an oral report, and you are going to be doing your report to be handed in on Friday. It's always a very good idea to check your marking criteria to see how you can get very good marks, how you can better the marks that you have. So when you have time, go over the marking criteria. Hopefully after you finish the report, if you have time to check, this is like a checkbox for you to check all the things that you expect to get good marks in, and so you can analyze for yourself what kind of a mark you might expect to receive. So here I'm sharing on screen now the research report marking criteria. I'll try to enlarge it for you. Oops, this way. Okay, so penalty for lateness should be 20% for each day the assignment is late. Again, if you have some difficulties getting it in on time, maybe IT will leave the box open for a few hours, the drop box. So if you are a little bit late, maybe you can still submit it, but the due time is Friday, 5 p.m. And after that, if you are late to put your report in the Dropbox, then the Moodle marking will show how late you are. And after a few hours, the box will close, and then you will have to beg somebody to open the box again for you to submit your report. And you need to have some good reason as to why.
We are also excited to be developing a new strategic plan that will provide
I can hear somebody talking on your line.
Efficiency-seeking investors and ensure that people is best positioned.
Thank you, Sani. Okay, so try to be on time. Try to be on time with all your work. This is the end of the semester is coming up very soon. As the final days, weeks come closer, your lecturers will be expecting more and more of you. So try to ensure that all of your work is well planned and handed in good time, so that you are not creating a backlog for yourself. If we know that we are able to mark all your work on time, then we can get your work back to you with your marks in good time, and everything will be processed well. When things are late from your end, then there's more chance of problems on our end as we try to play catch up and try to ensure that everything is running smoothly and that you get your good marks in good time, or get your bad marks in good time if you need to know what you need to plan to do next semester. So again, the assignment must be typed, font number 12. Thank you for all of you who typed your work in your first essay. I was able to read everything quite well. Some of you forgot to do double spacing. So try to ensure you double space your work, leave a line between each line that you write so it's easy for us to read, so we can read it fast and we will not get confused by what we are writing, and we will be able to see very clearly everything that you have written. Cover sheet must be there. The cover sheet is your title page. On the title page is your title, and it will have all your information. What is this course? English for academic purposes, your full name as on your student ID number, group number 12, tutor's name. Make sure you may write my name correctly. My name is Keith Giblin, not any other name. Some of you are very creative with the names you give me. My name is Keith Giblin, and the due date is this Friday. So at least try to have your name correct, your ID number correct, and the title of the report. And the report's title should be something like a report on the name of your community, to find their opinions about mandated strategies to counter COVID-19. That is what your title should look like. It should include the name of your group and what your report is about. A report on opinions about mandated strategies to counter COVID-19 in the whatever community you have chosen. Make sure you choose a specific community. Hopefully, all of you have sent off your questionnaires. I've not seen so many questionnaires. Those of you who sent your questionnaires to me to check, they looked quite good. And you are all getting your questions from terms of reference, numbers 1, 2, 3, and 5. So those are the places you should have been getting your questions from in order to find a community, in order to ask them those questions. So your title page is your cover sheet. Cover sheet format is shown on Moodle. You do not have to include the correct marking schedule. I will do that. This is the correct marking schedule that we are looking at now. Abstract placed before essay. Now, why am I looking at the right marking criteria? I think I am research report. So in this case, abstract is not before the essay. Somebody has made a mistake here. It should be called not abstract. It is called your executive summary. So executive summary should be placed before the report. Let me check the title again. Am I showing you the right research report? Yes. So the person who made this report, who made this marking criteria, not me, they have forgot to check properly. All of you should check your work before you submit it. Teachers are sometimes worth to do that. So this is a research report. So abstract or executive summary, it should be accurate in format, clear and thorough. There are 5 parts to this report which need to be thoroughly looked at. If you have forgotten what they are, I will go over them again. You should have to have 1 sentence for your introduction. 1 sentence, what kind of methods did you use? 1 sentence, what were your results? Did you use charts, graphs, etc.? So what kind of results did you, how did you present your results? How did you present your results? Discussion, what were your findings? And 1 sentence for your conclusion, 1 sentence for recommendations will be made. So 1 sentence is your introduction sentence. 1 sentence is your method sentence. 1 sentence is your result sentence. 1 sentence is your discussion sentence. 1 sentence is your conclusion sentence. And don't forget 1 more sentence, recommendations will be made. Recommendations will be made. 4 words, very important. You have to show that this is a recommendational report. Make sure you have 1 sentence to say, recommendations will be made. 4 sentences, introduction, methods, results, discussion, conclusion, recommendation. 6 sentences, 6 sentences, introduction sentence, method sentence, result sentence, discussion sentence, conclusion sentence, recommendation sentence. So 6 sentences in the abstract. Please make sure you have those. And if your abstract is accurate, clear, and thorough, then you might get 4 out of 4 for your abstract. So the assignment must be typed font 12 double-spaced with cover sheet, correct marking schedule, not necessary, but you must have your executive summary after the title page in the essay, in the report. So all of that will get you 1 mark. So again, abstract should be accurate, clear, and thorough. 6 sentences in the way that I've described. If they are all there, but a little bit weak, some things are not perfect, 3 out of 4. If one of the sentences is missing, then 2 out of 4. If you made up your own executive summary, if you are very creative, you did your own thing. Some students, every time they do it, they try to write an essay abstract. No, Do not write an essay abstract. Write an executive summary. Executive summary, one sentence for introduction, one sentence for methods, one sentence for results, one sentence for discussion, one sentence for conclusion. Recommendations will be made. Those are the sentences that you need to include for your abstract for your report, only for your report, not for oral presentation, not for essay, but for report writing. You must have an executive summary, 6 sentences to show what is inside your report. If you have no abstract, you will get 0 out of 4. So I'll go to the top and start from the top. TOR, terms of reference. Remember, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts to this report, 5 parts. So, number 1, find out how knowledgeable people are about the effects of COVID-19. What do people know? Did you cover this in your report? Find out if people, to find out what mandated strategies government has put in place to counter COVID-19. So what has the government done in order to counter COVID-19? If you have something about this in the report, then you might get 4 out of 4. For example, mask wearing, physical distancing, being quarantined, washing hands regularly, avoiding crowds, being vaccinated. So these are the things you should be asking in your questionnaire. Do people know about these? And also, do people agree or disagree? Part 3, find out if people agree or disagree with these government mandated strategies. Very important to ask this question. How much do you agree? If you have a scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, very much agree, somewhat agree, or disagree. So you can ask people if they agree or disagree and the levels with which they agree. And then you can ask why. Why are they not agreeing? Or why do they only somewhat agree? Number 4, evaluate people's reasons on why they agree or disagree with the strategies. So somewhere in this report, you have to be writing about whether they are being clever or whether they are not being clever for agreeing or disagreeing with the strategies. So do you include this? And number 5, make recommendations on ways the community can best protect itself from COVID-19. So in your report, all of these things have to be covered. How knowledgeable are the people about COVID-19? What strategies has the government put in place? Do people agree or disagree with them? Evaluate people's reasons as to why they agree or disagree, and make recommendations on the way the community can best protect itself from COVID-19. All of these things should be covered in your report. This is what you have been asked to do if you are working for the Ministry of Health, or if you are working for some private company. Then maybe you would be asked to write a report like this, and all of these things are the things that you are asked to cover. You need to cover all of these terms of reference, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you did not cover any of these terms of reference, then you will get 0. If you are off topic for your report, you will get 0. Maybe you only covered a few of these terms of reference, but you did not do any recommendations. Or maybe you did not evaluate people's reasons as to why they agree or disagree. So few terms of reference met, you will only get 1. Most terms of reference met, maybe you did 4, you did not do 5, then you will get 2. All terms of reference met with good detailing, good analysis, 3 out of 4. Excellent job, 4 out of 4. So you cover 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 very well. Introduction. What do you have to do in the introduction? Don't forget hypothesis. There has to be a sentence for your hypothesis. What do you think the outcome will be, the main outcome? Do people strongly agree with the government mandated strategies, or do they strongly disagree with the mandated strategies, in your opinion, before you get your results in? So make sure in your introduction you have a hypothesis. If you forget to do the hypothesis, you will get 0 or maybe just 0.5 if you wrote everything else, but you did not include your hypothesis. So there are things to include in the introduction. What things should you include in the introduction? Clear and effective unit on the purpose and background of the study. Did you write something generally about COVID-19? One paragraph. Did you write something generally about COVID-19 in Fiji? One paragraph. Did you write something about COVID-19 in your chosen community? One paragraph. Did you introduce your community generally? One paragraph. Did you include your hypothesis? That might be 1 or 2 sentences. Did you include the terms of reference? Copy and paste the terms of reference from the question page, from the task sheet. If you did all of those things, then you might get 4 out of 4. Clear and effective unit of the purpose and background of the study. Fully, aptly contextualized, in context. So you have talked about COVID-19 in the world, COVID-19 in Fiji, COVID-19 in your community, and you have a good hypothesis there. So if you did all those things, you might get 4 out of 4. Developed unit of the purpose and background of the study, generally contextualized, durable hypothesis. That might be 3 out of 4. It's okay. Fair unit, attempting to contextualize. So you at least wrote something about COVID-19. If you wrote something about COVID-19 generally, you will get 2 out of 4. Hypothesis there. Several elements missing, but hypothesis present, 1 out of 4. So this is very important for you to remember. Hypothesis must be included. No hypothesis, 0. Hypothesis, you will at least get 1 out of 4. If you wrote all of the paragraphs of the things that we expect you to write, you will at least get 2 out of 4. If you write them very well, paragraphs should be at least 4 sentences long. They should be numbered. Introduction is part 1. 1.1, what is COVID-19? Paragraph 1.2, COVID-19 in Fiji or in the Pacific. 1.3, COVID-19 in your chosen community. 1.4, introduce the community. 1.5, hypothesis. 1.6, terms of reference. So all of these things should be in your report. Don't forget to include them. You might get 4 out of 4 if you include them very well, number them very well, and have good paragraphs, at least 4 sentences per paragraph. Next, methodology or methods.
So in point form?
No, not in point form. The only thing in point form is right at the end, your recommendations. This report is all paragraphs, paragraphs for everything except for recommendations. Recommendations can be point form. So paragraphs, please. Okay, Michael?
Okay, sir.
Methods. So methodology, 2 or 3 paragraphs on methods. So what are you going to write in methods? One paragraph might be on questionnaire. What did you have for your questionnaire? One paragraph might be on subjects. What are the subjects? Subjects are the people. Who did you choose? And then one paragraph might be on procedure. So subjects, materials, procedure. Materials is questionnaire. So materials, subjects, procedure. One paragraph for each. 4 sentences each would be good. So procedure, how did you do it? It's a diary form. Materials, questionnaire, interview, further research. What kind of questions did you include in the questionnaire? Subjects. Who did you choose and why did you choose them? Maybe you chose 5 males, 5 females. Maybe you chose a selection of different age groups. Maybe you chose a selection of married and single. Maybe you showed people from the country versus people from the city. Maybe you showed people from a different range of occupations or a different range of studies, different range of schools. So whatever the differences are, how did you choose the people that you chose? Methodology. If you had no methodology, then 0. Methodology ineffectual. So you just did not think properly about what to write. Not very much information there. 1 out of 4. If the methodology is okay, generally described, some data, 2 out of 4. Clearly described, range of data. So you have at least 2 paragraphs there. 3 out of 4. Methodology effective, well described, wide range of appropriate data, 4 out of 4. Now this marking criteria is going to the conclusions. Conclusions. No conclusions, 0 out of 4. Or it's off topic, 0 out of 4. Relevance questionable, not supported by data and analysis. So again, maybe off topic, 1 out of 4. Relevant but shallow, support by data and analysis unclear. 3 out of 4, mostly clear, supported by data and analysis. 4 out of 4, well considered, highly relevant, significance made clear, well supported by data and analysis. That means that you write about whether your hypothesis was correct or incorrect. How successful was your report? Was it very successful in your opinion? Is 10 people enough? Did everybody cooperate? Did you have any problems? What kind of problems did you have? What should people do if they want to repeat this investigation? So these are the kind of things that you can include in your conclusion. You can have 1 paragraph only if you want, as long as it's well written. Format. So, no sequence evident, inappropriate tone. Please make sure, use academic English. Do not use personal pronouns. So many of you, when you wrote your essay, you forgot. Do not say, I believe, I think. No. Do not use personal language. Do not use contractions. Do not contract your words, make them short. Do not use slang. Do not use texting, spelling. Check everything, make sure it's professional. So if the report sections are sparse, that means they are too short. No sequence evident. That means everything should be in the right order. If it's in the wrong order, you might get 1 out of 4. Inappropriate tone means you are not using formal English. You are not using academic English. Most sections missing. So if some of the parts are missing, you will get 1 out of 4. Subheadings, remember you have your main headings and every paragraph can have a subheading. Make sure your subheadings are appropriate. They are right. 2 out of 4, inconsistencies in sequence and tone. Same thing as I said before. Some sections missing, subheadings not always clear. 2 out of 4. Planned report, logical sequence, appropriate tone, major sections included, sound subheadings. So hopefully most of you will at least get 3 out of 4. If it's very well done, you have headings, subheadings, all of your paragraphs numbered nicely, well-planned, logical sequence, appropriate tone, major sections included, subheadings are there, you might get 4 out of 4. Presentation of results. So these are your graphs, your charts, maybe you might include some maps, some diagrams or some photos. This is all part of your results. No results, 0 out of 4. Not well organized, that means you did not organize them in the way that you want to discuss them. The one you want to discuss first should be first. The one you want to discuss second should be second. Data not integrated into text. So going from results to discussion of results, that means the discussion of your figures should be in the discussion section of the report. So if you have figure 1 in your presentation of results, I'll be looking in your discussion. Where do you discuss figure 1? Is it the first paragraph? Where do you discuss figure 2? Is it the second paragraph? Where do you discuss figure 3? Is it the third paragraph? So make sure it's well integrated into the text. I can see that you have got a label for your results and that you are discussing this in the next section. Data should be integrated into the text. Only one sentence should explain your results in the results section. Do not write too much information in your results section. Save all of your discussion for the discussion section of your report. This is the place where you present your data, where you present your graphs, charts, diagrams, photos, but only one sentence to show the main trend. One sentence only to show the main trend. Do not repeat your sentence from the title. The sentence can explain the most obvious thing in the graph or in the chart. But when you discuss in the discussion later, that's the time when you discuss your results. So if the sequence is poorly organized, visual data weakly integrated into the text, then you'll get 2 out of 4. If it's correctly done, 3 out of 4. Thorough, detailed, well organized, well sequenced, visual data effectively integrated into the text. When I go to the discussion, I will be able to see where did you discuss figure 1, where did you discuss figure 2. If you did it nicely, correctly, obviously, then you will get 4 out of 4. In the discussion is where you discuss your results, where you discuss your graphs, your charts, your diagrams, your maps, any photos. No discussion, 0. Discussion is very thin. Discussion is very short. You do not have a nice paragraph for each of your results. That means you will only get 1 out of 4. Remember, a paragraph is about 4 sentences minimum. Discussion of results, adequate, mostly clear discussion, then it's 2 out of 4. It's okay. Sound is good, clear, detailed discussion, sound interpretation of data, 3 out of 4. What do the graphs and charts and diagrams show? And what might they be showing? What might they predict for the future? Full, sophisticated, clear discussion, accurate interpretation of data, using good vocabulary. All of the vocabulary we talked about last time. We went to Unit 9. We talked about fluctuation, dramatic rises, all those kinds of words. You can use them if they are there in your results. So full, sophisticated, clear, detailed discussion, accurate interpretation of data, 4 out of 4. Grammar, grammar, grammar. So try to check your grammar before you hand in your work. Many of you did not check your grammar. I don't think some of you read your essay once before you gave it in to me. So check your work yourself, give it to somebody who knows English very well, ask them to check your grammar for you. Try to make sure that your grammar is very good. If I cannot understand some things, I will give you zero. Errors seriously compromise comprehensibility. That means I really cannot understand. What are you trying to say? If I cannot understand you, 0. If some parts of the report I cannot understand, 1 out of 4. If you make many mistakes, but I understand, 2 out of 4. Grammar is mostly good, 3 out of 4. Grammar is perfect, 4 out of 4. Accurate writing conventions, vocabulary. So using a lot of technical words correctly. So vocabulary wide and accurate. You are using words which we should be using at university level, not primary school English. Spelling and punctuation error-free. Check your spelling. I was very surprised. Some students do not even check their spell check. If there is a green line under your word, that means it may be spelled incorrectly. So check your spelling, check your punctuation. Make sure you have full stops where the full stops need to go. Make sure your sentences are not too long. Sometimes people forget to put a full stop and they just continue with a very long sentence on and on and on. So make sure your sentences are not too long. It's good to have some long sentences, but it's good to have short sentences also. So it's not a problem to have short sentences. Short sentences are often easier to understand than long sentences. Neutrality of tone sustained. That means you do not use personal language, you do not use slang. Neutrality of tone. If you have too many words which are the wrong words, spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes, neutrality of tone uncertain, then you may get 0. Vocabulary is too simple or pretentious. Sometimes people try to be too clever with their language, and then it ends up sounding a bit ridiculous. So do not be pretentious. Make sure that we can understand you. Otherwise, you might get 1 out of 4. Vocabulary is good. Several errors in word choice, spelling and punctuation errors noticeable. So it's somewhat all right, 2 out of 4. Vocabulary is wide. Some word choice, some spelling mistakes, some punctuation. Mostly good, 3 out of 4. No mistakes, 4 out of 4. Recommendations. So recommendations, if you have no recommendations, 0 out of 4. Recommendations irrelevant, off topic, weak and or fanciful. That means you did not think properly about it. You just wrote something down. And 1 out of 4. Recommendations are okay, insubstantial, randomly described. So insubstantial means very short. I have to give 4 out of 4 for recommendations. So if they are relevant, developed, sensible, clearly described, try to have 2 sentences for each of your bullet points. Recommendations, point form. Only recommendations, point form, please. Do not make all of your report point form. Bullet point form for recommendations only. But if they are too short, I cannot give 4 out of 4. They are developed, clearly described. So maybe have 1 sentence to make your point, 1 sentence to explain your point. So 2 sentences for each recommendation. So maybe you can have 4 or 5 recommendations, 2 sentences each. Then this 1 page, you do not need too many words. It's only maybe 10 sentences, but you have done enough for your recommendations. So maybe about 5 recommendations, 2 sentences each. Recommendation bullet point form. Recommendations highly relevant, developed, mature, fully described, and logical. And then abstract. Abstract or executive summary, accurate in format, clear and thorough. You have one sentence for each of the main parts of the report. 6 sentences. I've already talked about this. If you have those 6 sentences there, and they are nice sentences, they explain very well what is in the report, then you might get 4 out of 4. No abstract, 0 out of 4. Abstract, you made up your own abstract. You did an essay style abstract instead of a report style abstract. That's 1 out of 4. Some of your important sentences are missing, 2 out of 4. Mostly they are there, or they're all there, but the sentences are not so strong, not so good. 3 out of 4, but at least they are there. All of your 6 sentences are there. They are clear, they are thorough. You might get 4 out of 4. And then extra 1 mark if everything is font 12 typed, cover sheet is there, executive summary is there. Don't worry about the marking schedule. And do not be late. If you are a few minutes late, it should be all right. If you are a few days late, maybe you will miss the deadline. So, but if you are very late, you will not be able to submit. You will have to ask me to submit, and you have to have a very good excuse. But I encourage you, try to have your work done on time, because after this, we will be moving on to the next topic. And the next thing that you have to be doing, not only for this course, but for all of your courses, the semester gets faster and faster as more things have to be covered. And then we are doing our end of year work, and everything happens very fast at the end of the semester. So try to do your best to get this work done on time. Any questions about the marking criteria? So maybe I will go over for one last time what is in Unit 10. We did it twice already before. I will do it one more time in case anybody missed it. And now that you're writing your reports, we have to make it clear. And then if we finish everything in good time today, I will go to Unit 6, because we need to start thinking about oral presentations, which is due in week number 13. And Unit 6 is also to do with your final exam. We're not having an exam, we are having a final essay. And that essay will be CE or CC, compare and contrast, or cause and effect. So we might do that today if we finish everything. And I'm just revising today, revising for you in case you did not get something clear in how to write a report last time. And then if nobody has any questions for me, then we will go to Unit 6 in order to carry on with the next thing that we need to be doing for you to know for your UU 114 course. Any questions about this? If no more questions about this, I will go to the other share screen for our course book. So hopefully this will happen easily. Okay, can you see the course book here? Michael, can
No,
you see?
no,
No.
no, sir.
Okay. Let me try again. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
very much. Thank you for answering me. Right. So what we looked over in the past few lessons was different types of reports. We are doing the recommendational report. Make sure that you have recommendations in your report. Don't forget to ask some questions about recommendations. A recommendational report includes information and it includes analysis. Sometimes you are only asked to write an informational report. Sometimes you are asked to write an analytical report. An analytical report includes information. In this case, you are writing a recommendational report, which includes analysis. Analysis is the discussion, and information, which is your results. So don't forget, you have all of these different parts of your report. You have the title page, and on the title page is your title. I've already told you what your title should be. Page I is the title page. Page II is the executive summary. You include 6 sentences there. I've already told you what the 6 sentences are. After that comes the table of contents. So we have our page numbers on the right-hand side, and we have all of our headings on the left-hand side, all numbered, and subheadings, also numbered. So table of contents, not table of content, table of contents. Don't forget S, table of contents. Table of contents does not include the list of figures. Different title, different page, list of figures. So figure 1, what is figure number 1? The title should be there. In this case, the student forgot to put the title there and the page number. So you have to know how to put page numbers on your report because you include the page numbers for your table of contents and your list of figures. Next page, introduction. So,
sir,
yes.
so list of figures does not go into table of contents.
No, separate from table of
Separate from.
contents. Do not put your
Okay.
list of figures inside the table of contents. One is your table of contents, one is your list of figures. So title
Okay,
page
sir.
is page I, executive summary is page II, table of contents is page III, list of figures is IV. Introduction, page number 1, page 1. You have your main heading, introduction. Then you have all of your subheadings for all of the different paragraphs. One paragraph, what is COVID-19? That is 1.1. 1.2, COVID-19 in Fiji. 1.3, COVID-19 in my chosen community, not my, in the chosen community. Or you can name the community. And then 1.4, introducing the community. That can be 1.5 and 1.4. 1.5, hypothesis, 1 or 2 sentences. Don't forget, hypothesis should be included, and terms of reference, copy and paste in the introduction. All of these things I've told you, I'm just telling you again, so you can get very good marks. All of these things are part of your introduction. After your introduction comes methods. So methods, what did you do? Procedure, 1 paragraph. Procedure, methods is the name of the main heading. 1.1 or 2.1, 2.0 methods. 2.1 procedure, what did you do? A questionnaire was prepared and distributed to members of the team to collect more information about whatever. The questionnaires were distributed to 10 players evenly amongst local and overseas with age distribution of ages to 20. The recipients were given 3 hours to answer the question and return the scripts which were later collected and compiled. Sentences like that. What did you do? Then one paragraph can be about the questionnaire. So the questionnaire focused mainly on blah, blah, blah. It asked about which characteristics, blah, blah, blah. Further, it asked the nature of. Finally, the questionnaire inquired what solutions. So what kind of questions did you put in your questionnaire? If you have 8 questions, you should find it very easy to write 4 sentences about the questionnaire. So that should be how your methods should look. Next.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, for method, can we just write like a primary resources and secondary resources?
Primary
Like that?
resources and secondary resources are all part of research. So that would come under the topic of subheading of yes. So that means for primary resources, what will it be? That might
Like primary resources will be like distribution of questionnaires and all those stuffs, and for the secondary one is for research.
okay. So you can write 2 good paragraphs on that. If you can write 2 good paragraphs on that, I will accept it. That's okay.
Okay,
Primary
thank you,
research,
sir.
secondary research. Sure. Good. So it doesn't matter so much what your subheadings are, but make sure you have many examples of what you can use. So make at least 2 good paragraphs for your methods. Good. Discussion includes your results. Results includes your graphs, your charts. So maybe you can fit 2 on 1 page. The student put 1 on 1 page. You do not have to save paper. It's up to you. But there's a lot of space here. Maybe on this page he did 2. So he did bar graphs and he did pie charts. So remember, title, what was the main thing you can see? 1 sentence only. And there's a key. They included color, X, Y axes, labeled correctly. So do not write too much information in your results. Only the main trend that you can see for each figure. What is the main thing you can see? Point it out. The rest goes into the discussion. So you might have 5 or 6 figures in your results. In your discussion, 1 paragraph for each. Figure 1.0 illustrates how often the players used something, something. So what happens in the first figure? Figure 2 showed what type of, this is about a different topic, so I'm not going to bother reading it to you. Figure 3 depicts what happens in figure 3. Figure 4 represented, figure 5 displayed. So each of these paragraphs was talking about what happens in each figure. It was very easy for me to see the information, very easy for me to see. Figure 1 has been discussed. Figure 2 has been discussed. Figure 3 has been discussed. Figure 4 has been discussed. And figure 5 has been discussed. So what are the main things you can see in each diagram? 1 paragraph for each. What do they show? And what can you see as a trend happening? Maybe why you think this trend is there. You can include such things to make your paragraph full for each of the figures. So that is your discussion. Conclusion does not have to be long. So conclusion, what did you, was your hypothesis correct? How successful was your report? And what things could be done better next time? How did your report not work as well as it could have? Maybe you had not a lot of time. Maybe you did not have any money in order to do research. Maybe you would have worked better if you had a team to help you. Maybe some people did not want to answer the questions. If you did not have good results or health was not successful, you can include all of that, because many things are out of our control when we write reports. So all of these things can go into your conclusion. So your hypothesis, what was your main finding? It should go here. People strongly agreed with the recommended, what is the word? Recommended strategies. Or people did not agree with the recommended strategies, or the hypothesis was correct, the hypothesis was incorrect. It was believed that people would strongly agree with the mandated recommendations, but it was found that they disagreed. So anything that you find can go into your conclusion, and then your recommendations after that. So bullet points, 2 sentences for each, 4 or 5 recommendations. How can this community keep themselves safe from COVID-19? After that, don't forget your bibliography. So just as when you write an essay, include surname, initial, date, title, company, place. When you are writing, you can include in-text references, especially for your introduction. When you are writing about COVID-19, all facts you have to reference, just as when you write an essay. You know how to do this now. We have already taught it to you. If you have forgotten, look it up again. So COVID-19 in Fiji, this needs to come from somewhere. COVID-19, what is COVID-19? Then you have to look it up from somewhere. Make sure you include in the paragraph, where did you get this information? If you are looking for information about USP, or if you're looking for information about a school, or if you're looking for information about a suburb in Suva, then you might need to get it from somewhere, and you can include that in your bibliography. Remember, at least 4 references need to go to the bibliography, at least 4. Many of you for your essay only had 3. You could have at least included the course book. That might have brought it to 4. So make sure you have 4 references in your bibliography, because that is what is asked of you. And then in your appendix, don't forget to include 1 copy of the questionnaire, incomplete. And anything else you want to include in the appendix, you can also include. So this is the way in which your report should look. Any questions about that?
So in the
Yeah.
introduction,
Yes.
can we have introduction of the community before COVID-19 in the community?
Yes,
Like
you
for the
can.
summary? Okay, thank you.
So all of this we went over last time, and we have discussed it again today. So we have an example of an information report, just information. Then we have an analysis in an analytical report. And then we have a final kind of report, which is recommendation, which includes the recommendations. So an example is in the book, How to Write Your Title. In your case, we are doing a study of the whatever community to find their opinions on. I always have to check because I want to get it right. Mandated strategies to counter COVID-19. Don't forget your name, your ID number, course number, name, lecturer's name, the date. Here's an example of a cover page. Executive summary, don't forget, include the 5 parts. So here's an example of an executive summary. When you write your executive summary, take 1 sentence to describe your introduction, 1 sentence to describe your methods, 1 sentence to describe your results, 1 sentence to describe your discussion, one sentence to describe your conclusion, one sentence saying recommendations will be made. Table of contents, don't forget S. Main topic 1 is part 1. 1.1, subsection 1. 1.2 is subsection 2. In your introduction, you might have 6 subsections. So 6 subsections, all numbered and all subtitles. Main topic 1, introduction. Main topic 2 would be, what comes after introduction? Main topic 2 would be methods. Main topic 2, methods. Maybe you will have 2 paragraphs, 2.1, 2.2. So paragraph 2.1 might be procedure. Paragraph 2.2 might be questionnaire. Table of contents, don't forget the S. Abstract, page I. Acknowledgements, page II. You do not have to include acknowledgements, but if you want to have some personal thank yous, this is the place for your acknowledgements. If you want to thank your community, this is the place in order to do it. And you can use personal language for acknowledgements. Only in acknowledgements can you use personal language. If you want to thank your parents or anybody who sponsored you, you can add it in your acknowledgements. Anybody who helped you, taught you, etc., you can include it in your acknowledgements. Table of contents, don't forget S. I always say this because so many of you forget it. So if I see you forgot your S, that means you are not paying attention to your grammar. One table, many contents. Table of contents. So the table of contents is this table of contents. This is the table of contents, but again, it's included here, table of contents. So even though this is the table of contents, you can include it in the table of contents. List of figures, page IV. Page IV. This is all the preamble to the actual report. It is not numbered. Introduction is where the report starts to be numbered, where the main action is happening. Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, all of the different parts of our report, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So bibliography is also included, but it's not a major part of the bibliography. It's still numbered though. So 6, 7, 8. So in your report, 8 parts. Introduction is part 1. Methods is part 2. Results is part 3. Discussion is part 4. Conclusion is part 5. Recommendations is part 6. So all of these things will be numbered. Just as we have here, conclusions and recommendations numbered. After that, you will not include a glossary, but you will include your bibliography and your appendices. Appendix is 1, appendices is many. So you can just have appendix, IX. So appendix will include 1 copy of your questionnaire. You have your main parts numbered, and then all of the paragraphs within, subheadings and numbering. List of figures, figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, figure 4, figure 5. Maybe you'll have 5 or 6. What is the label? What is the title of your figure? And page number. List of figures will look just like this. Introduction, purpose of the research, background to the research, hypothesis, prediction, and terms of reference. All should be included. Methods, this book recommends 3 paragraphs. Remember, the subjects are the people. They are not courses, subjects. So who, people are who. Subjects is who. Who was involved in your research? Who did you choose? So your subheading can be the subjects. So what was their gender, male, female? What was their age? Don't forget children. You can ask children. Don't forget old people. If you include children, you should also include old people. If you include old people, you should also include children, middle-aged people, young adults, the youth, all of them, if they are part of a major community. If they are university students, then try to get a good selection. Where did they come from? If they come from different places, different religions, if you think it's important. So whatever differences they have, you can include them. So why did you include them? Why did you choose the people to ask? Who you asked? People. People is who. People is not that. People is always who. Who are you? Not that are you or what are you? Who. So when you are talking about subjects, use who. Your materials can include your questionnaires, interviews, what kind of questions. And also if you look up any other information online, any books you might have read, any newspapers you might have read, any documentaries you might have watched, you can include this in your materials. Procedure. What did you do? What did you do? So this is like a diary event, but do not say, I did this. Always use passive English. First of all, give a step-by-step account. First of all, a questionnaire was made. After that, the questionnaire was distributed to 10 students. Make sure you use passive English. You use English which is not personal. Step-by-step account of what you did. Give a brief description of how you analyze the data, especially if you use computer. So in your case, what did you do? So here's an example of the sentences you can write for your methods. You can use some of these sentences and you can adapt them if you want to. So they have 2 paragraphs for the questionnaire. You only need 1. Interviews. Who did you interview? If you interviewed anybody. This person interviewed 3 people, students, somebody who is a manager of one of the halls of residence, and somebody who works for Ministry of Education. How are you designing your questionnaires? Hopefully you have finished your questionnaires. If not, finish it fast. You have to get on with your work. So you are thinking when you are designing your questionnaires. Do men and women think differently? So this is important to ask. Are you male, female? Do young people think differently from the elderly? So you can ask about age. Do rich people think differently from poor people? So you ask them about their job. Do the educated think differently from the uneducated? So maybe you can ask somebody who went to school, somebody who did not go to school. Do people who live in the country think differently from city people? Do people who live in Vanua level think differently from people in BT level? Do people in different countries think differently? So you can ask people in the chosen community. It might be international community that you want to ask. If you know people overseas, you can ask them. Marital status. Do married people think differently from single people? Urban and rural. So all of these things you need to be able to specify in your questionnaire so that you are able to get your results based on the very important information which you have received. You can draw up a scale. So how much do people think these mandated strategies are important? Extremely important or extremely unimportant? Or important, very important, somewhat important? It's up to you. If you want to make a scale like this, then people will be able to answer more fully. If they have to think, this is actually suggesting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not really good enough because most people will just go in circle 3. If you do an even number, then they will have to choose. Do I circle number 5 or do I circle number 4? So less important or more important. So it's up to you how you design your questionnaire, but the better your questionnaire is, the better people will be able to give you answers that you can record. The more information you have, the easier it will be for you to write your report. When you ask an open question, people should not just be saying yes or no. So ask a question that requires them to give many words. They have to write some 3 or 4 lines or some sentences. Offer choices if you can. Include other, not others, other, an other category. So other, maybe you did not think of the answer that they will say. So if they think of another answer, then you can include it under other, not others, other, an other category. So the example is here, other, no S, and provide lines in order to comment. So try to ensure that your questionnaires are done. The time is urgent now. So make sure you give out your questionnaires and get them back very quickly. Questionnaires should allow people to fill them in anonymously. So try to write thank you at the bottom of the questionnaire and also assure them that you will not be reporting on them. You just want to know what they think. So if they say something which is not politically correct or which the government might be angry about, they should feel free to say that. It's good to know what people really think. So they need to be comfortable in order to answer you truthfully. You want to know what the true information is. So do not tell people that you think they are stupid if you think that their answer is stupid. You can write in your report that you think the answer is not a good answer if they are telling you information that you think is not good, but encourage them to answer truthfully. You want to know what people truly think. People cannot know how to address a situation or a problem if they do not know what people are thinking. So encourage people to give an answer which is their own answer. Do not try to guide the answer for them. Encourage them to answer according to how they really feel. You should realize that 5 or 6 people is not enough. So even 10 is very few. You are going to have to generalize from this data. So there's a danger from generalizing from too little data. So be careful with the words you use. Do not say something as though it's a fact if it's not really a fact. So you should use hedging words. This information tends to show that. Do not say definitely shows that, or it is a fact that, or the people in this community are all. Well, maybe they all think that way. Definitely, if everybody answers in the same way in the questionnaire, then you will be able to use that information and show that the information that you received from the 10 people who you asked was pointing towards the information being the same for everybody in that group, but may not necessarily be for everybody in that group. If you are carrying out a scientific experiment, keep notes. Yes, so even just remember what you are doing over time so you can include it in your procedures. What date did you give out the questionnaire? What date did you collect it? How much time did you spend on doing all the different parts of this report? You can include all of that in the report. Even typing up the report, you can include that in the procedure if you want to. All of the dates will make your report look very professional. It shows that you are very organized and that you are taking note and that your time, how you used your time. And it shows why you might have had certain problems if your time was taken up too much with one aspect. Results. So do not take too long to explain everything in the results. Just show your figure, show the title, give a key, XY axis, and even one sentence is enough. As is clear in figure 1, the production of beet was in the year 2003 was comparatively stable in all 3 regions. So maybe that's all you have to write. So maybe if I'm looking at this graph, the main thing that sticks out for me is this big line here. So maybe my most important sentence would be in the 3rd quarter, this graph shows that in the 3rd quarter, the East had a much higher production of beat in the third quarter. So that might be enough. One sentence only, just to show something that is obvious in your figures. For most of this year, everything was the same, apart from this one big growth spurt. So maybe the most important information is production of beat in 2003 was comparatively stable in all three regions. It's true, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So everything was the same, apart from one obvious difference. So just include one point only and save the rest for your discussion. What do the figures show? What are they suggesting? What is the important things they illustrate? So this is what you are going to write for your paragraphs in discussion. What are the figures showing? What are they suggesting? And what things do they illustrate? So what are they suggesting? What might be happening in future? Why might the figures be showing this? What are the important things? Do not use emotional language. Do not use slang. Remember, we are still using academic English. Write in the past tense for things that are true. Write in full sentences and full paragraphs. Bullet points can only be used if you have been told to do that, and only in this case for recommendations. Do not use bullet points except for the recommendations. Conclusion. This report is not conclusive as it lacks validity and reliability. So maybe you will use this sentence in your own report if you think that 10 people are not enough. Therefore, no firm generalization or assumption can be made about whatever the topic is. Further research is required to provide any trend in defining whatever your topic is. Equally, no relevant research has been carried out. So some of your sentences can look like this. I think this sentence should be part of this paragraph. However, this research has revealed different cultural groups do so. So this might be the hypothesis. When you are discussing your conclusion, use the word hypothesis to show your main outcome. So hypothesis, the hypothesis was proved correct, or the hypothesis was proved not to be correct. So I know you actually included your hypothesis and what were some of the limitations of this report. How could the results have been more effective? You can write this in your conclusion. And if anybody wants to repeat this report again, this data collection again, what suggestions can you make in order to improve it for next time? No matter how perfect you are, things do not always go the way that we expect them to go. And no matter how many people you give a questionnaire to, probably there are always more you can give a questionnaire to. So what were the limits and what can you conclude based on the questionnaires and the people you gave the questionnaires to regarding this topic? So one paragraph might be enough, but make sure it's a very good paragraph. Discuss your hypothesis and the limitations of this report. Recommendations. So recommendations should be in point form. Remember, I have to give you 4 out of 4. The marking criteria says be substantial. So this is very short. Try to have 2 sentences for each of your points. Recommendations do not need to be discussed or explained. Just write them down simply, simple sentences, present them as bullet points. So examples here, bibliography can be included. Don't forget, if you interviewed anyone, include the interview. So what was their position? If you interviewed a police officer, very interesting to interview a police officer for this topic. If you know a police officer, ask them, how are they dealing with all of these government mandated strategies for COVID-19? Maybe if you know anybody working in the Ministry of Health, you can ask them. If you know any doctors, nurses in the hospital, even people working in banks and other places, people who are working, I don't know, people who have to take your money. I mean, Suva is not completely closed down. There are still people who are working in the city. How do they deal with the restrictions imposed upon the public with regard to COVID-19? Appendix Appendix. So a place where you can put any other information which does not fit properly in the report. So you will include one copy of your questionnaire and anything else you want to include. Maybe you saw an article, a newspaper item, etc. You can copy and paste it if you want, or just include it in the questionnaire if you think it's relevant. Any other photos, anybody who you interviewed and want to show them or describe them, location of the place, any photo of USP, 9th hall, or whichever hall you might want to interview people in. If there are students from a particular school, you might want to show a map of Suva and where that school is located. If it's close to USP, how close to USP, if you're interviewing students who went to that school, who are now studying at USP. So any other information, you can include it in the appendix. This is an example of a report. Time frame. So that's all to do with Unit 10. Are there any other questions to do with Unit 10? Are there any questions to do with your report? Today we're supposed to start teaching Unit 6. Unit 6 is to do with oral presentations. So what do you think? Shall we go to Unit 6 now? Shall we still talk about reports? It's up to you. What should we do? If you're all going to be quiet, then we stop talking about reports and then we go to Unit 6 to think about the next topic. Are you able to?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Just a question on hypothesis.
Yes.
Can you go over the 5 sentences again? I missed that part.
So you want to know the hypothesis, how to write the hypothesis?
Yes, sir, please.
I think for this report, the hypothesis should be the hypothesis. It is okay. It is hypothesized. Maybe start like that. It is hypothesized that members of this community agree very strongly with the mandated strategies to counter COVID-19. Got it?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Or maybe you think the people in your community, they don't care. So it is hypothesized that members of this community do not agree with mandated strategies to counter COVID-19. So whatever you think your community is going to say before you give them the questionnaire, that should be your hypothesis. One sentence is enough for your hypothesis. So maybe if you think they will agree, write it down. Or if you think that they will disagree, that can be your hypothesis. And then in the conclusion, then you can say, the hypothesis of this report was incorrect if you thought the wrong thing, or the hypothesis of this report was correct. So hypothesis, what do you think the main thinking will be before you give the questionnaire and ask the question? What is your hypothesis? What is your prediction? Good question. Any other questions on that? Okay, so let's go and see Unit 6. I'm reluctant to finish with reports because I don't like to talk about different topics when you are still thinking very much about one topic. So that's why I always like to go very slowly, because I'm sure all of you are trying very hard to write your reports right now, and that is the main thing on your mind. And I like to know that what I'm telling you is the correct information and that you will not forget, because I'm telling you while you are doing it. So I will still accept any other questions on report writing. If there are no other questions, then Unit 6. What does Unit 6 tell us? Oh, now I've gone too far.
So for the question is it compulsory to ask about the gender, occupations, and ethnicity, like the culture they in? What culture?
You mean what religion?
Yeah.
If you want to discuss, if you want to find out if people who belong to different religions think in a different way, then that is why you can ask that question. If you want to, what was the other first part? If you want to find out if people who earn more money think differently from people who earn less money, then you can ask about occupation. That is why I'm suggesting that might be a good way. So another way might be if people who are educated think differently from people who are not well educated. Do they think differently about the government mandated strategies? This is why I'm suggesting many different ways to find differences so that you can make your graphs and charts based on the information you receive. It's up to you what you want to ask, but try to think of enough questions so that you have enough graphs and charts in order for you to be able to do some writing about the question. So the answer is it's up to you what you want to ask. But if you can find a lot of differences, then you have more information in order to write about, to include. Is it clear, Michael?
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Good. So it's really about making questions. And
Sir.
Yes.
What is the 1.4 you mentioned before, hypothesis and the introduction of 6 paragraphs? What is the 1.4?
Okay, so first paragraph can be what is COVID-19? Second paragraph can be COVID-19 in Fiji. Third paragraph can be COVID-19 in your community. And 1.4, introduce your community. So, Lewa, what community are you going to be writing about?
I'm actually in Nandi, so it's a kind of settlement outside of Nandi town.
So it's a village?
Yeah.
So, so you can write about how many people in the village, where do they go to school, where do they go to work, where do they go to church, how long have the people been living there, how many different families there. So one paragraph, just general information about that community.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And then after that, hypothesis, and then copy and paste your
What you are.
terms of references. Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. I'm glad you're asking me questions because.
Sir,
Yes.
you said that since you said that the hypothesis can just have one sentence.
Yes.
So does it have a subtopic of its own in the table of contents?
Subheading is hypothesis, just hypothesis.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So now we have already, any other questions? I'm glad you're asking me questions. So already we have done argument essays, one side of the argument. We have done discussion essays, two sides of an argument. For your oral presentation and for your final essay, you have to do CA or CC, compare and contrast. CA, causal analysis. Do not say casual. Casual clothes, home clothes. Opposite of casual is formal. No. Cause. Cause and effect. Cause, effect. Cause, effect. So causal analysis. Many students say casual analysis. No. Cause. Cause, effect. So the next kind of oral presentation that you give will either be cause and effect or compare and contrast. Cause, effect. So you might have cause number 1, cause number 2, cause number 3, effect number 1, effect number 2, effect number 3, or cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect in your plan. Compare and contrast means similarities and differences. So similarity, 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 difference, difference, difference. Or if you have 3 ideas which are the same, similarity, then difference. Then idea number 2, similarity, then difference. Then idea number 3, similarity, then difference. So compare, contrast. Compare number 1, compare number 2, compare number 3, contrast number 1, contrast number 2, contrast number 3. So when you are writing your essay, you know how to do your plan, cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, or cause, 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 effect, 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 or compare, 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 contrast, 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 or compare, contrast, compare, contrast, compare, contrast. So for your oral presentation, think about the topic. I'm not looking at the topic today. I'm just looking at cause and effect or compare and contrast. So after this week, forget about report writing, just think causal analysis, compare, contrast. Because for the rest of this semester, we will be doing cause and effect and compare and contrast. Causal analysis, recognizing a cause and effect essay when you see it. Block essays, chain essays. Block essays, cause, 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 effect, effect, effect. Chain essay, cause, effect. Effect becomes cause number 2, which becomes effect, which becomes cause number 3, which becomes another effect. So when we are looking at global warming, maybe we talk about the sun is getting, the cloud cover is getting thinner, which means that the earth is getting hotter. The earth is getting hotter, it creates another effect. That's a cause. Earth is getting hotter, which means the ice is melting. Ice is melting is an effect. Ice is melting is also a cause. Ice melting causes the sea level to rise. That is the effect. What is the, that is also a cause. Rising sea levels means displaced populations as flooding happens. So that means some major cities are going to go underwater. What is the effect of displaced populations? That means less land to live on and grow food. So what is the effect of less land and less food? Means we have to develop new technology in order to cope. So cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect. I think block essays are much easier to write than chain essays, because chain essays, one cause becomes an effect, which becomes a cause, which becomes an effect, which becomes a cause, which becomes an effect. So I suggest block essays are easier than chain essays. Cause, 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 effect, effect, effect. You can write chain essays. It takes a lot of intelligence to do this. It's not so easy. Language signals. So how do we know when we are reading what to follow? Sample essay in chain form. Sample essay in block by block. So this is all part 1 of Unit 6. Part 2, looking at compare and contrasts. So compare, 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 contrast, 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 or compare, contrast, compare, contrast, compare, contrast. Looking at a compare and contrast paragraph, point by point, language signals, sample essay analysis block, and sample analysis point by point. So, and giving examples of 2 kinds of essays in Unit 6. So you understand more now about the thought process involved because you have already done argument essays and discussion essays. So this is similar. So probably between cause and effect, I'm not sure, depending on the topic, what you have to talk about or what you have to write about. One of these might be easier than the other. So when you are thinking about your final essay and when you are thinking about your oral presentation, how are you going to plan for your cause and effect or compare and contrast? In this unit, we will apply what we have learned in the last several units to writing new types of text. They are not too different from the last ones because you are still developing your ideas into an argument. You are still developing your ideas into an argument, but they have their own ways of being expressed and they use different signal words. So when you wrote your essays in the body to begin each new paragraph, you used different signal words. Firstly, secondly, finally, however. On the other hand, all those kinds of words we use differently here. The causal analysis looks at the causes and effects of something. And compare and contrast essays look at how things are similar and different. To make it easier to show you the causal analysis and compare and contrast essay, we have split this unit into part 1 and part 2. You will find a summary, glossary, and feedback on selected activities at the back of each part. So causal analysis topic, objectives, understand what is meant by causal analysis, differentiating between causes and effects in academic writing, and recognize the 2 common patterns for writing causal analyses, block essays and chain essays. Signaling cause and effect. So these are keywords to be able to draw attention through word choice and placement to causes and effects. Generalizations. Use hedging language. It seems, it appears, not all people do this or all people believe that. Using hedging words if we are not sure of our facts, to be able to use hedging language in order to limit generalizations. Be careful with your generalizations. In the last essay, some people were saying all Christians disagree with getting vaccinations. So I don't think all Christians disagree with getting vaccinations, but this was what some people were writing in their essay. So use hedging language. Many Christians disagreed with receiving vaccinations for COVID-19. Be careful with your generalizations. Thesis statements, again, understand the format and purpose of a thesis statement in causal analysis. When you do your oral presentation, you will be doing your oral presentation in the same way that you do an essay. So all of the things that you write for your introduction in an essay, you will be saying them in your oral presentation. And all of the things that you say in your conclusion for your essay, you will be using them in your oral presentation, including the thesis statement, the most important sentence. And many people still forgot. A thesis statement makes a list of the main ideas. Many people I had to give a poor mark to for introduction because they forgot. Context, subject, limited subject, issue. What is the issue sentence? a sentence which can be argued for or against. So don't forget, issue and thesis statement. Give the main ideas. Analysis. So deconstructing an essay in order to highlight the ways in which causes and effects are put forward. So this unit will show you a sample essay and explain to you how the causes are put forward and how the effects are put forward. Compare and contrast essays, showing the structure and purpose of compare and contrast essays. Language, recognize the language in the way that we compare and contrast. Comparatives and superlatives. Good, better, the best. Be careful with comparatives and superlatives. So better. Females are better drivers than men. This is a generalization. Females may be better drivers than men. Comparing. Superlatives, the best. So the best drivers are those who have done an intensive driving course. Superlative, good, better, the best. Bad, worse, the worst. Beautiful, more beautiful, the most beautiful. Ugly, uglier, the ugliest. So comparing superlatives, extreme. Hot, hotter, the hottest. Superlatives. So maybe Arabia is the hottest country in the world. I think the hottest desert is in Africa. Maybe I'm wrong. Superlatives. Comparing is for two. Superlatives is for more than two. New Zealand is beautiful. Australia is more beautiful. And Italy is the most beautiful. Superlatives. Comparatives, better. Fiji has a better climate than Sydney. So comparing. Two, writing more than one paragraph to analyze the structure and content, specifically cohesive devices and signal words of compare and contrast essays. So all of these things are in this unit. How are cause and effect and compare and contrast essays planned? Planning again. How will I know a causal analysis question when I see it? So when you get your final essay, you have to know which one is a causal analysis question, which one is a compare and contrast question. How will I know a compare and contrast question when I see it? How can I use the 15 steps to help me? When we started UU 114, we went through 15 steps. So when you do your oral presentation, you will have to choose either a causal analysis question or a compare and contrast question, and you will use the 15 steps to help you in order to plan your oral presentation. Is the structure of these text types different from the ones I've already looked at? And can I see examples to give me some ideas? Yes, you can. So we have already looked at argument essays. These look at one side of an issue and try to persuade the reader to agree with the proposition. Discussion essays. These look at both sides of your issue, but reach a conclusion, and you write your opinion as the second argument. 15 steps. We already did this in the beginning of UU 114. So in the end of this unit, we go back again. CLD to analyze the title. Some students didn't get it when they were making their plan. CLD, analyzing the topic, analyzing the title. CLD is different from context, subject, limited subject, issue, thesis statement. Context, subject, limited subject, issue, thesis statement is for making your introduction. CLD is to analyze the topic, analyze the title, so that you know you are on topic. You can pull out the most important words and know the direction. How are you going to attack this question? Limiting words. What are the most important words? So you do not look for too much information everywhere. If it's about Fiji only, you know, I need to look for information on Fiji. If it's about the Pacific, you know it applies to the Pacific. Content. Content is what is the main topic. So is it about COVID or is it about mandated strategies? In A1, it was about strategies. What strategies? Limiting words from the government. Recognizing a proposition. Proposition or context, subject, limit, subject, issue. Proposition is an issue. So make a sentence which can be argued with. How do you do it? Turn the proposition into a question. If you make a question, then we know how to answer the question. Make a question using a question mark. Step 4, brainstorming. Go away and think about it. Sit down, close your eyes. Maybe you have a piece of paper, come up with some ideas of your own, make some diagrams, scribble on the paper, make some star graphs to order your main ideas. What are your 3 main ideas going to be? So brainstorm your ideas and then you start to order them. Which one will come first? Which one will come second? Which one will come third? Order your categories to create the argument. So how can I best use all of these ideas in order to make my essay or my oral presentation flow? Write the thesis statement. So what is the main topic and what are my main ideas? List them. Maybe environmental, economic, and cultural. Create a plan. So when you are doing your oral presentation, it's good to make your plan so you know what you're going to talk about. We are teaching you this in UU 114, so you know what you're doing for all of your other courses at USP when you have to give an oral presentation, you have to write an essay, and in your future life outside of USP. Write topic sentences, SEXI paragraphs, cohesion, firstly, however, secondly, on the other hand, thirdly, in conclusion. Introduction and conclusion. How do we write these? Editing is checking your work. Include your bibliography and an abstract should be written last, but using the main ideas. 1 sentence each for your main ideas. So in causal analysis, we do it again. Causal analysis looks at causes and effects. It is an analytical essay type because sometimes the causes and effects are not very clear. You may have to think about them for yourself. But doing this shows that you understand important aspects of the issue. This working out process needs a depth of critical thinking, always asking why? So what? So always thinking in order to get to the next paragraph of your essay. Here is an example of a causal paragraph. We have put in bold the words that signal causation. All right, so this is an example of cause and effect. Seasonal affective disorder is a strange fact that a consequence of winter arriving in places with long cold seasons is that people become depressed and even suicidal. So this is your topic, your SEXI. Your subject is People living in cold places become depressed and suicidal. When winter comes, doctors have begun to examine the mental phenomenon because it is so widespread in temperate and subarctic climate zones, such as Scandinavia and northern Canada. These are people who live in the coldest places in the world. It has been called seasonal affective disorder, which is appropriately abbreviated as SAD. So this is called SAD because it makes you sad. Winter coming makes people depressed. SAD, seasonal affective disorder. People who experience this disorder become very depressed and miserable during the winter months. This depression seems to be the result of being deprived of sunlight when the dawn breaks late and the sun sets early. It's always dark most of the day. Doctors believe that the lack of sunlight causes an interference in the production of melatonin, a hormone produced by the brain, and of serotonin, a chemical which transmits nerve impulses and which is associated with feelings of pleasure. The winter blues may be the result of the ensuing imbalance of these two substances. If somebody tells you, I'm feeling blue, that means they say, I'm feeling very sad. There's a kind of music called the blues from the United States. Usually these songs are about people who are brokenhearted. So I'm feeling blue. So blue. The blues, people who are feeling depressed, may be the result of the ensuing imbalance of these two substances. Another theory suggests that the drop in available sunshine hours disturbs the body's natural clock, which could in turn lead to oversleeping, lack of energy, weight gain, and irritability, all of which are signs of depression. Since an absence of sunlight seems to be the cause of this disorder, doctors are proposing that a daily dose of specially designed light might be the answer. The light is similar to that used to stimulate plant growth. Another possible response is to use a tanning machine. So the main point which the writer is trying to teach us from this paragraph is the language inside this paragraph. This paragraph does not finish. It's giving us examples now. It has S, E, and X, but no I. But the words here are a consequence of. So cause effect. Effect means what is the consequence? So winter comes, a consequence of that, people become depressed. Because is another cause and effect word. Why are you happy? Because I passed my test. So cause effect seems to be the result. What is the result? So the cause. So result of being deprived of sunlight. So something causes something. The result of feeling tired is that you stayed up too late last night. Cause effect, that is the result. Cause effect. Causes, sunlight causes an interference. So again, using words to show the effect. May be the result of. Ensuing. Ensuing means following. Something follows something. Something is the result of something. So because there was too much rainfall, landslides ensued. Landslides happened. Another theory suggests could in turn lead to, seems to be the cause of, might be the answer. So all of these cause effect, cause effect, cause effect. Another response, another effect is to use a tanning machine. So all of these words in bold are words that we can use if we are wanting to do cause and effect essays or cause and effect oral presentations. Notice that the points made in this essay are not fully developed. which you would need to do in a full essay. This just gives us basic points, but it does not attempt to explain them fully. It is not an essay, but the pattern of this paragraph, reflecting some of the features that would be fully developed in an essay. Look at the way the paragraph has been organized and the words that are used to signal causes and effects. We all use cause and effect structures when we try to explain everyday situations. For example, if your parent asks you, why were you late? Why? Because you want to know why someone kept you waiting. You want to know why someone kept you waiting. So your parents might ask you, why were you late? They want to know why someone kept you waiting. What happened when he fell out of the tree? You want to know the result of his falling out of the tree. A small child climbed the tree and fell 5 meters. What was the result? He broke his leg. So what happened? Cause, result. Assignment questions that ask us to write causal analysis essays can come in a number of forms. Sometimes they are very straightforward, using words like cause. What is the cause of, lead to, or why? Or they ask for results or impacts. What were the main causes of? What were the main causes of COVID-19 becoming an international pandemic? What led to the depopulation of the coral reefs? What are the likely effects of? What are the likely effects of a lockdown in 2021? What are the likely effects of? Why did something happen? These are all cause and effect. However, sometimes cause and effect ideas are more hidden. These assignment topics might use words like will determine, or at the root of, trigger for, depend on, or meant. How did this influence, has given rise to, consequences. Causes, will determine, at the root of. What is the root of the problem? Why are most people feeling depressed in winter? What is the trigger for people feeling depressed? Depend on. Meant, influence, given rise to, consequences. For example, every revolution has an event or two which inflame the situation. What were the triggers for the American Civil War? What were the triggers for the coups in Fiji? What were the triggers for World War I? What lay at the root of the Somali conflict? What was the cause? What drives students to drop out of school? What is the cause? Agriculture the world over is becoming more mechanized. Examine the consequences of this process of mechanization. Effect. So less people gathering vegetables. What is the consequence of this process of mechanization? How does corruption affect investment and economic growth? Cause, effect. What are the challenges to justice that have followed in the 9/11 attack on the Twin Towers in New York? What are the challenges to justice that have followed? So the 9/11 attack happened first. This is the cause. What are the effects of the 9/11 attack? Causes and effects are sometimes very clear to see. The cause of a flood may be heavy rain and poor drainage. However, very often it is not so easy. The causes of a war or the effects of global warming can be debated, and not everyone will agree with the reasons put forward. Sometimes too, it is hard to separate the causes from the effects. This is why cause and effect papers need a lot of thought and a lot of analysis. Often you will have to make decisions that differ from people's ideas. There is no need to worry about this as long as you have evidence to back up your theories. So research, research, research. Okay, I'm going to stop here. because I know all of you are still thinking about your reports, but we've just done a basic introduction to causal analysis. And after we have finished writing our reports next week, we will look at the topic for your oral presentation, which is due in week number 13, which is either cause and effect or compare and contrast. So we have now finished with our report topic, and I'm giving you an opportunity to ask any last questions if you want to, before I let you go and finish your reports. In that case, I wish you a very good night, and we'll hear from you on Wednesday. Thank you for your time. And
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. See you on Wednesday.
Hi, sir.
Bye.